Hello, everyone, and welcome to Power Hour. Today's topic is the concept of the suggestion box app that is a Power Apps template and how to use that and make it your own. Because when you try it out, it's just got basically hard-coded data inside of it. But if you wanted to make it your own, you'd want to use a database or SharePoint for your data. So we're going to go through what this app does and how it works, and then how you'd go about making this your own with your own data. Here is the stinger. All right, so I'm Laura Rogers and this is Joelle Jobson, and welcome to Power Hour. This is a show we have Wednesdays at 11 Central. We've been doing this for about 10 years and we're glad to have you here. We have a lively chat going on. We use Teams for our chat. So wherever you're watching this video, there's going to be a link in there to request to join, and then we invite you to the Teams team, and then we have chat in there so you can watch the video and chat at the same time. It's really fun. We're going to dig into this Power App suggestion box app, and I've built this in that environment that we are in the tenant in Teams where you all are logged in when you are joining us. So technically you do have access to all the stuff that I'm demoing and the lists. I created a couple of lists in that SharePoint site that we do all of our demos in. If you like to go poke around in there, there's ideas and comments or the lists that are in there so far. And then also I shared the Power App with you all. If you, and I'll show you how to go in there and try it out if you'd like. So it's very interactive. It'll be fun. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the app, and you could all follow along too in your own environments if you want to try out the suggestion box app and just kind of see what it does. Everyone has access to it. And then it's really cool. It functions, it works, but it's all just proprietary. All the data is just inside of it in collections, and it's not actually submitting data anywhere. So it's really lovely and pretty and kind of fun to try out. But if you want to make it useful, that's the kind of the process we'll be going through to try and use your own database and be able to submit these items, ideas, and comments and things to your own database. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so here is Power Apps. So if you are following along, you could try this out. If you want to click this, the way that I got to this screen is just web.powerapps.com, takes you to the main screen. So I want to show you the app template that I'm talking about. It's one of the very last ones in all these templates. Yeah, it's the very last one, called Suggestion Box. So you create a suggestion box app. It will give it a name. It'll just, have a number appended to the end of it. Click Create. And then, so we'll create one, and then I'll show you the one that I've already created and started kind of tweaking, because it is pretty time consuming to go through that entire app and all the little places that it uses that data that's stored inside of the app and replace it with your own. So I've done a little bit of it, but I want to show you what it does. So the first screen that you come to when you try this app out is it's asking you user or admin. Now, this concept is something that I want to show you just as a concept that you could do in lots of your apps, that you could do just not have them have to click whether they're a user or admin, because you don't want users just saying, oh, I'm an admin. So there's a concept of being able to determine what the people's roles are based on a SharePoint list that they might be in. So I'm going to save this towards the end, because it's not necessarily related to the suggestion box specifically. It's just a concept that you could use in all of your apps. So I'm going to save that till the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as a user and show you what this app does. It's got a dashboard. So it's basically got ideas that people are submitting to for their suggestions. So it's just at work, this is your digital suggestion box. So this dashboard, this is the main screen, it's a dashboard, and it's counting some ideas. It's got accepted, approved, and implemented ideas. And then it's showing, these are galleries, showing the last accepted one, the last approved idea, and the last implemented one. And then this button over here, idea, is supposed to basically give you the ability to log in and not log in, but go ahead and submit a new idea. So it's got, let me click to submit idea. So you fill it out. Blah, 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 submit it. And then it puts your idea in this little temporary list called a collection. And then it takes you back to the home page. So then let's go log in as a admin and see what they see. So their admin interface is a little bit different. It's got the same dashboard, but it's got this little 2 up here with like a little notification center. And it's got, notice that it thinks that my name is Tegan Connell. It doesn't know, who I actually am logged in as. Again, it's all just hard-coded data. It's hard-coded data about the people and the ideas and everything. So it's showing me that this is a new item. And this is the one that I just submitted. And it's just a big gallery, basically. And it's got buttons next to each item to give it, to accept it, approve it, or implement it. So I'll start by accepting that one, and I'll approve that one. So these are big buttons. So those are really cool buttons. They probably do a patch and patch to the data to change its status. So like I can change one of these. I'll put implemented, and then it actually changes the data. So then I can go back. So that's just my notification center letting me know what ideas I need to do something with. I'll go back to my dashboard, and then what is this button? This one says this is the ideas button at the top. And then that just is showing me a big long list of all the ideas. And it's showing me, so this is the metadata about each idea. It's got what the status is, how many likes it had, how many comments, and whether, it's got little cute icons for whether it was accepted, approved, whatever. And then I can click on one, and on each idea, I can see that it's got how many likes it has, how many comments, and I can actually see the comments over here. I could click to like it, and then great stuff, testing, and then add my comment. And then it's got a box for another new comment here. And so that's kind of some of the functionality that's been built in here. Let's see, some of these have, let's look at this one, it's got comments. Yeah, see, this one's got a comment already. So I can even like the person's comment if I want to. Go back. And then this little button up here at the top just has users. To me, that's not very realistic. That would be more like the roles if you wanted to have the ability to assign people the roles, like who the admins are really. You could probably just say everyone else is just an end user and then just define who the admins are. But in here, they have a built-in list of users, which that's not really a common thing that you do in most apps. So yeah, so let's see, what do y'all think? Has anybody ever tried this before? Okay. Yeah, do you all just, chime in over in the comments if you have any questions as we go. So I will now. So the next step here is to take this whole thing and kind of see a couple things, see how it works, and then you have to go through all these places in the app and change it to your own data if you want the data to be an actual database. So let's just look at kind of what it's comprised of. We have this login screen. And again, I mentioned I'd probably just want to get rid of that and just have it start out on the dashboard and already know what your role is. So you got the dashboard. I have this form where you submit a new idea. I had this idea screen. So this is when you click on a specific idea to go see the details about that one. And this is that whole list of ideas in the idea gallery, my notification center, my profile, which is the person, and then, any ideas that they've had, comments that they've made. And then that's the user management screen. So what we're going to do is, the way this works is that when you log in, that's where either one of these buttons that you click, it's actually generating all these collections. So it's collecting, it's just creating this hard-coded list of people. It's collecting to create this list of ideas. So the ideas, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this ideas list be a SharePoint list. And then it's also creating comments. So it's creating, that's also going to be a SharePoint list, because we want people to submit ideas and submit comments and have those be stored in SharePoint and not just hard-coded in the app, which doesn't make any sense, because if you added new ones, they would not still be in there if you went into it later. So yeah, so it's got again, it's a lot. So it's probably, realistically, it would take more than an hour to do all this. So I've started doing it already. So we'll see how much of it that we can go through. Now, the concepts here are what I want to teach you, like all the places to look, kind of how some of these things work. And with these templates, with these Power Apps templates that you see that Microsoft's provided, they're great. What I usually do is, when you have a real world need for one of these, like if for your company, you need to have a suggestion box, my typical advice for those is to start from scratch with a brand new app, because it most likely could take longer to customize and tweak their existing app to your requirements and to your data. So this one, I'm not changing any requirements. I'm just kind of tweaking it to change out the data and leaving it like it is. But in general, I highly recommend starting from scratch and then just using some concepts and ideas that you find in the app, in the template app, and just use those for inspiration. So this will just be a fun little exercise going through it, trying to find all the places we need to change things. So what I've done is I created a SharePoint list called Ideas, and it's got this is new, it's just a 1 or a 0 that it's got in this list. It's got just the names of the suggestions, the descriptions of them. It's got a text box for what the status is. It's just text, because that's what it is in the app. It's not a drop down. And then because it's getting changed behind the scenes with those buttons. So text field is very easy to have that. And then it's also got an owner. Now in the app, it has owner as just a number, because it's just pointing to who that person is over in the that list of users that it has. What I did though instead is I created this as a people picker, which is more realistic, just in most of your apps. And also you could just use the created by column instead of having to create a separate field for who the owner of the idea is. So that's just another concept, is you could just not create the owner column and just refer to the created by column in your app. And so I'll just show you real quick what the data looks like. Y'all could go in here and add these directly in the list if you like. Okay, let's see. Text, descriptions, multiple lines of text. Got date, the owner is a person or group, status is just a single line of text, likes and is new are numbers. So, and I went ahead and when I created these, I tried to make these as similar to what they're using in the app as possible, like the column names. Short description, I put a space in it, and then I realized that everywhere in the app that they refer to short description, it doesn't have a space in the name. So that's one thing I kind of had to accommodate for. I'm going to just quickly change a couple of these so that they don't say, so the is new is not 1, or it's not a 1, it's a 0, just so we'll have a few different pieces of data. And then I created the comments list. And the comments list is, there isn't much to it. Now, instead of a lookup column to point to what idea the comment goes with, it's actually got just a number column. So it's just got a number, letting it know the ID of the idea it goes with, and then it's just got a number of likes. So the comments are pretty simple. There wasn't much to them. All right. So those are the only 2 lists that I created. And then, so what I started doing, this is the one that I've been working on, is I pulled these SharePoint lists in as data sources, ideas and comments. But when I did that, since it already has a collection called ideas and it already has a collection called comments, when I did that, it asked me if I wanted to replace the collection with my data. If I did that, then it would have replaced all the places that it's using those collections. But I didn't do that because I wanted to have more visibility into like manually changing each spot that these are referred to. So when I click no, that I don't want to replace it, it just put a little _1. So now I've got two ideas. I've got ideas, which is just the collection that it's using in all these places in this app. And then I've got ideas _1, which is my SharePoint data that I want to replace all the ideas with. Same goes for comments. So there's a lot of little things that you'll find in this app. And I feel like this template was created a long time ago, like when Power Apps was brand new, because there are a lot of ways that things are done in here that don't make any sense and they're very inefficient, but it's really because the newer ways of doing some of these things didn't exist. Like, for example, this form to submit an idea. This is not a form control. This was created before the form control existed in Power Apps. This is just a whole bunch of text boxes. And when you submit the idea, it's not just doing a submit form, it's patching and submitting and like doing all this complicated stuff to go patch to create this record in your ideas list, which really all you need is a form control and a submit form. So we'll come across things like that too that were done in a weird way that I'll point out. So I haven't messed with the login screen. I've gone to the dashboard. So here's what I had to do. So these three things are galleries. Here's a gallery, gallery, gallery. And then these galleries are showing just filtered lists of ideas. So for last accepted, so I changed it. I changed the list of items in both of these to basically it's filtering. It's only showing one. So that's what this first in function is. I'll split this out a little bit. So it's a filtered list of ideas. So I changed this from ideas to ideas _1 because that's my new source. So that's what I've been going through and doing in a lot of these places. So I'm changing it. Let's see. Oh, Eileen says, would it be possible to accept suggestions from a company email address but not save the address so suggestions could be anonymous? No, not in Power Apps because you're always going to have the created by column. What I would do for that is I would create a Microsoft form. Microsoft Forms can be anonymous and you just set it to anonymous and you don't collect the person's login information and it's absolutely anonymous. So there's no way of knowing, but with putting stuff in SharePoint, it's always created by whoever filled it out. So it's just filtering a list of ideas where the status is equal to accepted and then it's sorting it by the submit date. So as long as I created that status column as a text column in SharePoint and I created submit date and all the same exact names, then this all just works. So then the same concept here is that, again, I'll go to the items property and this is the exact same concept. It's just showing the first one that's just the most recently approved. And then this one is showing the ones that are the most recently implemented. And it's just sorting it by the submit date. So once I changed out these galleries to show my data, then all these little pieces in here kind of broke. Not all of them, but they were a little weird. Like this one, this image was trying to do this crazy complicated lookup to the user in that little temporary users list that it had. And all I just did was change it to this item.owner.picture. So remember, the owner is that extra people picker in the ideas list, but you could just put who the author was if you just want it to refer to whoever created the item and not have a separate field for who the owner is. So I kind of like the concept of just referring to the author and not having to have a separate one for the owner. But that's it's also referred to as created by is another common way that you'd see that in here. So then all these little text boxes in this gallery, it's this item dot title, this item dot created by display name, this item dot submit date, and then it's formatted as a long date. So that's a cool way that they did that. And then this one is just the short description. So and then same thing for all of these across. And then the way they did these big numbers, this is kind of nice, is that they, it's just a number, it's just showing text in a label, but it's just counting. So I pointed it to this other ideas list and I said, count if status equals accepted. And it's just counting, just telling me a number. So I mean, I'll have to go in here and change some of the data, submit new things, and watch the numbers change, but that's all those are doing. And then this is just simply a button that's taking you to the Idea Submit screen. So the Idea Submit screen, I'm going to change it pretty drastically, and I'll just go ahead and do that right now. Is I'm just going to, instead of having this whole thing with all this craziness and all this complicated patching, I'm just going to put a form control on here. So I'll just go insert and edit form. And then the data for this is going to be not ideas collection, but the ideas one, which is my SharePoint list. And then I'm just going to try and kind of make it look like theirs. They have some cool fonts and stuff, but I'll put title. I'll put it in just one column. Title, short description, description. Then I don't need submit date, because in SharePoint, I set that to default to today, just whatever the date is that they click to submit this. And then owner is, again, if you have to have a separate owner, so I'll leave that on there. Status, we're not asking them a status. Likes, we don't have any likes yet when it's a new form. And then is new, for that one, I just defaulted it to a 1 in SharePoint. So a 1 is, it is new, 0 is not, it's just a toggle. And then, of course, we don't need any attachments. So I've got, oh, in description, I want to make that be bigger. So for description, I'll make it be a edit multi-line text. So that makes it bigger. And then for this whole thing that they're going to be filling that out, then when they submit the idea, I'm just going to have it do a submit form instead of collecting it. So let's do submit form. And then what is this form called? I didn't give it a name yet. It's probably just form 1. Yeah, form 1. And I'm not sure what this stuff is yet, so I'm not going to mess with it. Okay, so then I'll get rid of this. Those boxes. Let's take this whole form and kind of move it over. And then what is broken here? Let me see. Oh, so that is a display mode. So they've customized the display mode on this button so that it is making sure that you fill all these in. And if they're not all filled in, it will be disabled. So they give a couple of options when it comes to that as a concept. You could, if you made all these required, so this one's already required, it's got a little asterisk next to it. If I went to each card and I changed required to true, then if they tried to submit it and without any of the fields filled out, it would just give them the little error saying you haven't filled in, you know, whatever the field is. So you could just do that instead of doing all this complicated stuff with disabling the submit button. But if you do visually need to see the button as disabled, if they haven't filled it out yet, you could go through this process of pointing to every single little text box that's in that form and say, if it's blank, this, if it's blank, you know, just, it's very tedious because you have to go through all the different individual text boxes and controls in the form. So I'm just gonna keep it simple and not do that and just make these required. So again, I just select the card, I have to unlock it and select and make it as true for required. And so do I want the owner to be required? Sure, I'll just make that required also. So what I just did is changing it to a form control is much more simple than what was happening with it. So now let's go ahead and try it out. Oh, I didn't send the new form command to it. So what I can do is when someone, FRM suggestion, I'll just call it idea. When someone arrives on this screen, I just always want it to be a new form. So and a really simple option for that is just to select the whole form control and just tell it I want its default mode to be new. Another thing that I could do would be when people arrive on this screen, I could say when the screen is on visible, then send that new form command. But I don't need to do both. That would be overkill. So now I'll go click to submit my idea, test, very short. And then I'll just put myself as the owner. And then see, look at that. When I put my form control on the screen, I accidentally put it on top, like in front of some other stuff. So now since my form control is in front of it, I can't click OK. So I gotta rearrange that. See, my form is in front of everything on the screen. So I have to move it down, or I can move some of the other stuff up. So I'll just reorder. If I send it all the way to the back, ooh, then it sent it too far back. Bring forward a notch. I think maybe it has like this big gray box that it's behind. It's kind of tedious doing this, isn't it? If I bring it all the way to the front, it's too far. Anyway, you get the idea. So it's my form control is now behind this. So now this little box pops up. It says your idea has been submitted. And then this OK button. What does this OK button do? Let me see. Button, it clears out. So I don't really need to clear out the idea submitted because I'm using a form control now. What I need to do is do the reset the form. Reset form. And reset that idea form. And you don't really need to, because every time I have the default mode being for it to be new. So I'm not sure if you even actually have to do that, but I'll reset it. And then it takes me back to the main screen. Oh, so this is still showing here. So even though I navigated away and then navigated back, I don't want this to be showing. So, oh, okay, that's what it was doing. It was that little variable that I just got rid of. That's what it was doing. It was clearing it out. So it's saying visible if it's empty, true, otherwise false. It's like got this all this complexity just to basically hide and show this rectangle. So I'll go ahead and say that after they do submit it, get rid of that. Let's see, what does it do when I click OK? It resets the form and navigates. Oh yeah, it doesn't actually hide it. So I've got to figure out what logic I usually use is just to do an update context and set something to true or false. So it looks like they've got a lot of complexity around something that shouldn't be that hard. Since it's already 11:30, I'm not gonna spend too much time on just this pop-up box, and I'm gonna move on to some of those other really cool screens. I don't want to get in the weeds on this one. So I'll go ahead and go to the idea screen. So this idea is whatever specific idea that you have selected. So let's go navigate to an idea and click on it. And it's supposed to take me to that screen. Let me see. Now, something weird that they had in these galleries, I want to point this out too, because it was one of those sort of residual things from the old way people used to do things in Power Apps, is that on this list of ideas, they have a box, basically, this button, and they put a button basically on top of this entire item in the gallery, and then they made the button be what's clickable. Well, you can just put an on select for the whole gallery and then not have to have stick a button on top of all the things in your gallery. You can just make the gallery itself be clickable. So that's one of the things that I changed in here is I went to the gallery itself, and I'm actually going to rename these because these names are kind of a pain. You can't tell what's what, gallery 1, gallery 2. I'm going to call it gal last accepted. And then this one will be gal last approved. See, as you can see, this can be pretty tedious, right? Any questions? Let me see, I'll go take a look. Gal. Yes, Lisa, this would be a delegation nightmare if it exceeded 2,000 because of this count. Now, what you could do is you could do some collecting. You could like, there are a lot of things you can do to get around delegation issues. One of the things you could do would be to have a filtered collection of and collect the accepted ideas ahead of time into their own collection, collect the approved ones into their own collection, and you just be counting those. And that way you wouldn't be directly trying to count a list in SharePoint that could have thousands of items. But yeah, that is definitely something to consider for that. And yes, you're right. You're right. Okay, cool. All right, so on select for this gallery, I want it to, it's doing a clear collect. So it's, what it's using is they have this little temp idea collection that they're using. And so it's collecting whatever item. I added this variable here. So var selected idea, I added this so because that is just a practice that I like to use in every gallery and form that I'm dealing with, is just to, whenever somebody clicks something in the gallery, it sets the thing that they just clicked on to a variable. So I'm just taking this whole record, this item, I'm setting it to a variable, and then it's navigating away. So I've got my var selected idea and navigating, and let me see, I'm not sure why it's not doing anything though, because I click on this. See? Oh wait, there it did. I'm not sure why I had to click several times. Okay, so then it takes me to the form. So then on this screen, you have a lot of work to do, because now I need it to refer to this selected, let's see, that var selected idea dot, and then I've got, this is where I was kind of conflicted as to whether to put the owner field, the owner's picture, which is a separate people picker, or just the person that created it. So then I would be doing that variable. And another good reason to do a variable is, instead of, because they have 3 different galleries they could have come from on that front screen when they clicked on an idea. So you don't want to refer to just the name of a specific gallery, what is selected in it, because they could have come from any of the galleries and they clicked on something to get to this screen. So that's why I like using that variable, because it doesn't matter where they come from. I'm just doing var selected idea dot whatever that field is. So here, see, they had all this crazy stuff with lookups in all these fields in here. So this is one of the things that, instead of having to do a lookup, I'll just do that var selected idea dot, and I think that was the likes. Yeah, likes. So it's got the number of likes. People like this. And then again, this is an image. So this one's a little more complex. So this is actually an image of a little heart. So it's got an image in here of that it wants to only show it if someone has clicked like on this item. So let's look at what the logic is. So user idea likes. So it's gonna, oh my gosh, so it's gonna concatenate the name of this temp idea with the user's ID. And then if that person that's logged in, the like field equals 1, and it's like, that is weird. That is not. So all we really need to do is we need to know what these 2 images are. They have 2 images, like underscore and like underscore 1. See, it's this empty one. And then one of them that looks like it's, these look the same. Let me see. Like with a parenthesis. This is really odd. Oh, here it is down here. So they've got like with an parentheses, with a 1 in parentheses, and then an empty heart, which is just like_1. They could have named these files better. You see, they're under my head. But those are the two different images that it's referring to. So I really need to do if this item, var selected idea dot like is okay. So what it's doing is it has to store no, it's not. Well, it needs to know whether I personally like it. So what it's doing is it's trying to decide if, like me, Laura Rogers, if I like it, then it would already show a heart for me to see. So that makes it way more complicated. So what you'd have to do for this is create a whole separate SharePoint list, and you'd have each person's name, and each time they click to like something, it would have to create a record with the ID of the idea that they're liking, and then just basically their name. So then you'd have to match up and determine each user if they had liked that particular item. So I'm not going to do all that right now, because just like I mentioned, I knew it would probably take way more than an hour to go through everything, but it helps to kind of understand what all these concepts are that are kind of all over the place in here. What I'm going to do is say greater than 0. So if I'm just going to say if this thing has any likes, I'm just going to make it show this heart. That's my little shortcut. And then this one, again, another lookup. This one's looking to see, this is the exact thing right here, var selected idea dot likes. Oh, this is counting the number of people that like it. Okay, it's not just, yeah. So I think this is the same thing. Just copy that. Again, all those lookups that they have, you're not really going to need to do that. And then this one's counting rows of how many comments that one has. And then it is, what is this doing? This is an image. So I'm going to see what that image is supposed to do. Oh, it's got different images. So this one doesn't have a status of accepted, approved, or implemented. So, but if it did, it would show these different little icons. So it's got an icon. They've uploaded a ton of icons in here. So they have an icon for accepted, which that's what would show if this current item was accepted. And then they would show one called approved, an icon called, they actually named those icons pretty well for that one. And then implemented would show implemented. So that would show the right icon. And then this gallery over here, this is the gallery of comments. So this is where you have to change this to be your own list of comments that you created. And then it's doing all this stuff with this temp idea. Now we're not going to have anything temp when we implement this in the real life. So instead of this temp idea concept, that's where you'd actually have a separate SharePoint list where it's going to look to see, like, the currently logged in user to see things that they have submitted and things that they have liked. So I'm just going to filter my comments by where the idea, that's that ID. Idea equals var. Some of this stuff I'm just trying to figure out as I go. Dot idea equals var selected idea dot ID. So remember, idea over here in the comments list is just a number, and the number is going to be the ID of the item over here. So it's not showing the ID by default, but I can go add that so you can see it. So ID 1 is this one called suggestion box. So this comment in here was just for idea 1. So when I'm in here, I have to make sure that it's showing a filtered list of comments where the idea equals whatever idea that I've clicked on in that variable. And then I've got it's sorting by, I really don't care about submission date. I'll just put created. So that was one of the fields that they had in the collection for comments, was something called submission date. But in SharePoint, we have the created date. So we really don't need to have an additional date field in there. So yeah, I just change it to that. And then as soon as you do this, and this is what happened in all those galleries that I modified on the main dashboard, as soon as you do this, all the stuff inside the gallery has all these little errors. So you just go through this, each one of these. So this one's kind of crazy. It was because this list of users was hard-coded into the app. So every time you are referring to something with the currently logged in user, it's got all this crazy logic with, this is basically showing a specific person's face from this list of images based on this hard-coded data. So this is just the image column. So I'm going to put this item dot created by, which whoever filled in the comment, dot picture. So that's way easier. So all the image properties that you find in this app, you can just refer to this item is, you know, created by as picture. And then that little error goes away. And then this one is going to be this item dot, instead of submission date, I'm just using the created date from SharePoint. And I go to this error, and this is just the name of the person who submitted it. So again, I don't have to do all this crazy lookup stuff. I just do this item dot created by. So I'm actually making it a lot simpler, but it's just a huge pain to go through all these places. Now, once I go through this part where I go and actually delete all the collections and delete the references to where they tell it to create the collections, then I'm going to have a whole other slew of probably spots to go find and fix places that it's referring to their collections. So are you starting to kind of see why I say that it's a lot of times it's just easier to start from scratch than to go through this tedious process of finding all that? Yeah. So y'all let me know if you have any questions as we're going. So this one is this item dot text, and then this write a comment box. So, and also this box up here. Let me do this box up here because this exists on all the screens, but it's the same, you know, it's the same hard-coded logic. So instead of having for this image all this BS, you can just put the currently logged in user dot image. And that's just, you know, telling you who you are. And like I've taught you in other Power Hours, I usually use a variable for that. I store the logged in user in a variable. So then this write a comment thing, it's a nice little form that lets you fill in a comment, but it's you could just use a form control instead of having to do all this complexity with what they're doing with patching. It's just another example of, you know, they had a form control that I replaced for the submission of ideas. And then this could easily be changed to a form control. It's pretty simple though. So I'm just going to change this one to be, again, user.image to show me here. And then let's see what it does. So when I just got this add new input text, and when I click this button, what does it do? It does a collect. So it collects to that comments list. Again, this is hard coding it directly in the app. This is not submitting it to SharePoint. So I don't want to do a collect. I want to actually do a patch. So if I have a couple of options here, I could just create a form control and have it be a form control directly connected to the comments list, or I could just kind of leave it kind of nice looking the way they've done it, and then just simply patch to this comments list instead of collecting. So the main idea is that I need a patch instead of collect. Go back over there. Here. Okay, so let me format text here. So this is what I'm not going to do. I'm going to patch to the comments _1 list. And then when you do a patch, you do, if it's a new item, this is just the syntax is you have to tell it, this is what tells it it's a new item, this defaults thing. And then I don't need to create an ID because SharePoint will have an ID for it. For text, that's what I'm putting as the title in SharePoint. So that is my, actually, I changed it. I changed the name of it to text in SharePoint so that it would match up. And then idea is just a number. So for my idea, that's where I need to refer to that variable of which idea that I've currently selected. So the idea is going to be .id because it needs to write that ID. Likes is going to be 0. I don't need to put likes in here because I've already got likes as a column. It's got a default of 0. Let me double check that. So I'll put likes in here and yeah, a default number of 0. So I don't need to put likes in here if it's just going to give it the default. And then owner, this is going to be where you could have it patched to have a separate owner column, which I didn't do that in here. I don't need to have a separate column saying who created this because again, I have that out of the box just created by column that every list and library has in SharePoint. So I'm just going to refer to that. So I don't need to add that either. I don't need to put submission date either because I have the created column. So yeah, that's all I really need is I need the text of what their idea is and then what idea it goes with because everything else is built in. So I just made it a lot simpler. So let me try one. So this is the skydiving one. Yay, I can't wait. Oh, yeah, cool. So then it puts it down here in this gallery. Now I can see it. And then it starts another new empty one up here. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So what do y'all think about this process that you have to go through for all this? It's kind of a pain. So let's go look. There's another really cool screen in here, the idea gallery. So there's also that notification screen and the idea gallery screen. So as soon as I start messing with this, it's going to have a ton of errors for us to go through. So this one is just going to be ideas_1. Status is not equal to none. I'm not sure if I need to have status is not equal to none. I could just have a default status of new or something like that instead of having to do that. So I'm just going to sort them by submit date, and you can see a bunch of stuff broken here. This is going to be that image of whoever created, whoever the owner is of that item. So it's just going to be this item dot owner. I can do owner dot picture or the created by dot picture. And this one is the text of the person's name. Again, it doesn't need to be that complicated. This item dot owner dot name, display name. So everything else just worked because I had named all those columns the same thing. And it looks like they did the same thing on this one again, and by putting a huge button on top of everything in the gallery, which again is not necessary. I could just take this, whatever they're doing in the on select for this big hidden button and just delete the button. And again, the whole gallery can have an on select. All right, and then this one is, it automatically works. So see how it's got these different icons? This is just the icon, just different icons based on what the value is of the status. And we did a whole other power hour about doing conditional formatting in a gallery. And those are the exact same concepts that I taught in there that we did in a whole hour. So it's just basically using if statements to just show a certain picture according to a certain, say, a certain status. And then the likes, it's just looking at that field called likes. Now let's go to another screen. Let's go to the notification center. So this one's got, again, I've got to change it to ideas_1, and then value is greater than 0. I don't need that. And then is new. So that's that 0 or 1, that is new column that I had created in SharePoint. Now, it was a 0 and a 1 in this app, so I just created it as a number column in SharePoint, but realistically, it'd probably be good as just like a yes, no, like a Boolean in SharePoint. Yeah. Let's see. what are y'all, oh, Glenna says, learned about a connector called Layer 2 that allows SQL to SharePoint without the metered connection. Oh, interesting. $399, but still, that's way cheaper than those premium connectors. That's good to know. Okay, let's see. I've got, again, this is the text that's just showing the name of the person that submitted it. So this could be this item dot owner dot display name. And the same exact thing with the picture. You're going to find this in a lot of places. It's going to be this item. See, it's just kind of tedious. Owner dot picture. And then that's that, whether it's new is 1 or 0. That's why it's showing the new. And then look at this. Look, Steve created something. It doesn't have his picture, but it's new. And then you could see his was accepted. I can say mine was approved. Now, I've only got 8 minutes left, so let's do the roles thing. I almost forgot. Okay, so I'll just create a SharePoint list. Just from here, new list, blank list. I don't need that. Okay, and I'll call it rules. And again, everyone, in my example, everyone in the company can just be a user, and then I really just only need to define who the admins are. But you could just have a bunch of, why did it put statuses and stuff in here? That's weird. That is weird. I don't know what all that is. Let me try again. I'm gonna call it roles _1. I don't know why it just created all those columns. Okay. At least it'll match with the syntax of all the other lists. So I've just got to add a people column. Person, next, and I'll just say person. And so the title is just going to be the name of the role. And I'll, again, if you have multiple roles, you need to do this. If you only have one role, you don't even really need the name of a role, but I'll just do that real quick. And then admin. It doesn't let me put external people in the people picker. Put Brenda in there. Okay. Okay, so now I've created the roles and I just put admin as the name of it just in case you need to have multiple roles. And then I'll go ahead and, oh, this is the wrong one. Here, this is the one I'm in. Sorry, I shouldn't have left that other one open. This is the old one, the one that I just spun up and didn't do anything with it. So let's go ahead and go here, add data, go SharePoint. It's really way down this list, isn't it? Okay, Power Hour. And then I've got, this is the one I just created. Okay, so now, and this is in our training too at IW Mentor in the Power Apps Advanced training. I'm going to go to, now it doesn't have the OnStart enabled. So I do need to have OnStart because when the app starts, when the app first starts up, I need to be able to look at who the logged in user is, and I'll just save and publish that and close it and open it again. I need to look at who the logged in user is right when the app opens so that I can then determine what, I need to get that information to determine what role that I'm going to assign that person. So I'm publishing that. So some of these settings, when you change them, you have to just completely close the app and go back in. So that's what I'm doing. Also, I just published it. So if you've been trying it out, I'll just I'll put the link in the chat if y'all want to try it out. Not sure if you, I know I shared it with you all, but I'm not sure if you had access to it. So I just put it in there. Okay, so then I go back in and edit it. This has been kind of fast paced, but hopefully if you are trying to do some of this stuff, you could, just pause it, pause the recording here and there and try things. Oh, thanks, Steve, for the shout out. Okay, so as soon as the app opens in the OnStart, so I pulled in the roles list already. So I'm going to say, first of all, who the current user is. This is something that I do in every app. I'll say set current user to whoever the currently logged in user is. And then all those spots in the app, like at the top when it's showing the logged in user in their picture, you can just refer to this variable. So then I know who the logged in user is. And then I'll say collect. And this is just one way to do it. There are lots of different ways you can approach this. Roles. And then I'm collecting the roles list. I'm filtering it. I'm filtering the roles list only if there's a role for me that I'm in. So I'm only gonna get this one row because it just needs myself. And if I'm not in that list, then I'm not an admin. So I'm gonna say title equals, I gotta make it uppercase. Filter the roles list where title equals admin. Okay, and then run that. And then you'll see that my collection has, oh, I wasn't supposed to do title equals admin. I was supposed to do the person is me, not the title. So it was supposed to be the person dot email equals, that's that var current user dot email. So we're just seeing if the email addresses match. Let me try that again. Trying to hurry and making mistakes. All right. And then see, it's just got me. And then I'll say if not is empty. And again, this is just one way to do it. COL roles. Then set var is admin to true. And then it looks, so if that collection is not empty, so that means I am listed in there, then it's going to set this var as admin to true. And then now I know that the logged in user is an admin. I could say otherwise set it to false. Var is admin to false. And then run that. And then I have my var is admin, and it doesn't have a value right now. So let me go run on start. So it is not empty. So it should be setting var is admin to true. That's weird. Oh, I did something wrong. I didn't see that error a second ago. Not is empty, then set it to true. Oh, I didn't. I just put my comma in the wrong place here. Otherwise, set it to false. And then, yeah, just put one too many. Okay. Troubleshooting for the win. There's admin true. Okay, so then all this stuff that they're doing, so when they say login as admin, in their button, they actually have it's collecting and counting rows and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's what they're doing. They're putting something called _user admin in theirs. And then when you're an admin, it's actually showing different stuff. It's showing you, it's taking you to the same dashboard, but it's giving you these additional buttons. So let's go see what like at the visible property. Yeah. So this is where it's showing you this button only if you're an admin. So all I have to do here is say is admin. So I just made it a lot more simple. So just var is admin. So all the places that they're doing all that crazy stuff to show stuff only if you're an admin, you don't need all this. You can just say var is admin. All right. It's time. So I figured out a lot of spots that we needed to change in here. It showed you how to kind of swap out your data sources. The next thing you do, which is going to, really put it to the test and will tell you if what you've done is all working, is get rid of all the places that it's doing, that it's creating those collections. Just comment it all out or wipe it all out. And you can even find in your app all the places that it's doing collections. So this this concept didn't used to exist. It used to be kind of like not like a variable where you could go troubleshoot and go find it and find where the variables are being used. Collections, you couldn't do that. Now you can. You can just go do a search for it. So let me go ahead and switch back. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Joelle. And that was fun, kind of a whirlwind of digging through and seeing how the suggestion box works and going in and showing how you can make it your own and make it be useful and have live data. Come see me in, let's see, April 30th is my workshop. It's at the very beginning of the conference. The Microsoft 365 conference is coming up in just a couple of weeks. It's in Las Vegas, so hopefully I'll see you all there. And thanks everybody again. See you next time. Click the schedule button at the top of iwmentor.com to see when the next Power Hour is.